Morning, everybody. Today it's the grumpy mug. I'm having one of those. I hate mornings, moments. Not really. Maybe. Who knows? Hope everybody is well this week. It is a crappy day here as well. Rain is pouring down. My poor neighbours are getting some work done, and they've got a load of bricks arriving today. I don't know how many bricks are going to get laid today with the rain. It's just absolutely tipping down, so it's no fun for anybody. I hope you've all had a good week, and thanks again for the fantastic feedback we had from last week. Every week it still feels strange that people are actually listening to this and watching it and taking on board and interacting. So it's really appreciated. As always, I have to do my spiel at the start. Thank you to all those who support the Patreon page, patreon.com/the Al O'Donoghue podcast. They're making a big difference. So it's really appreciated. What's coming up? So yeah, there should be a couple more podcasts coming out this week. Motivation podcasts getting re-released this week. I've got more guests filled up. I pretty much have all my guests lined up now for my series 3 of the motivation interviews, so I'm looking forward to getting those. I had to cancel the first recording, so hopefully that'll take place next week. So hopefully I'm hoping by the middle of July we'll start to push them out. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Josephine. Hope you're both well. So we're going to crack into it today because we have an interesting one. Right, and it's a bit of a long one, and that's okay. Those long ones are all right. My 3-year-old is having a tough time at nursery. She used to love going, but suddenly started getting clingy and crying when we dropped her off. Finally, one night, she told me there was a boy at nursery who, in her words, hugged her too tightly and hurt her. It seemed pretty harmless to me, but I asked her teacher about it anyway. My daughter is a little behind in her speech. Because of this, she has had a hard time communicating and can be difficult to understand at times, especially if she is upset. So I wanted to make sure I had the facts. The teacher told me that a boy had grabbed her and started squeezing her, and she pushed him away and then got upset because she thought she would get in trouble for pushing. Her teacher said the boy's parents had been told and the situation was under control. When a week went by and she was still bringing him up every day and crying and not wanting to go to nursery, I spoke to the teacher again and was told that my daughter was terrified of this boy, and rightly so. We both agreed that just taking her out of nursery wasn't the best way to deal with it. She said that they were teaching her tactics to use, to run away as fast as she can whenever she sees the boy, and if he is near her and she feels threatened, to shout as loudly as she can. They think it is good for teaching her resilience. Now, I'm all for resilience, but I feel that what they are teaching her is to run away from what scares her. She constantly looks around for him, preparing herself to have to run at a moment's notice. I've seen her, after one of my several meetings with her teacher about this, cowering in a corner, just alone by herself, because she's too scared to go and play. My idea of resilience is to tell her if a boy is intimidating her and laying his hands on her when she doesn't want him, is to punch him in the face. But maybe that's just me. I feel like there has to be a better way to deal with it. I just don't know what it is. The nursery seems to think they have it handled, but she is miserable, so I don't share their opinion. Any advice? Well, that's pretty heavy going. It is a very, very worrying scenario on a number of, for a number of reasons. Firstly, you don't want your child feeling scared about going to a place that she should feel safe. Secondly, you don't want her to learn life lessons that, okay, she's going to grow up and things are going to change, but you don't want her thinking that she has to run away from everything that scares her and that people aren't supporting her. And the other side is this isn't fair on the boy either, because if he's not learning that what's appropriate behaviour and not appropriate behaviour, that's not good for his own development, and that could have damaging impact on him in the long term, because it's very easy sometimes to not tar a child, but if a child shows bullying behaviour, sometimes adults can kind of go, oh, that child's a bully, and that's it, that's stuck. stuck with that child forever. But they're just learning also. And bullies need as much support in managing themselves and learning what's okay and what's not okay for other people as the child who's being bullied, who needs that bit of resilience. So there's a few things here, okay? Obviously, we all want our kids to learn about resilience. We want them to know that when they get knocked down, they can pick themselves back up. That's absolutely one of those things. But for me, this is just my opinion, this is not teaching your child resilience. Teaching a child to run away and scream does not help a child understand that it's okay for me to go and say, I don't feel comfortable here. Because she is a child. And children need to know that someone is there to keep them safe. And that's our job. But it's also the job of people that we put our children into their care. So it's their job to make sure that our children are safe also, because we are, one, paying, but even if we're not paying, we're trusting them with our child and their happiness and contentment. So it sounds like you're not happy with this situation. If I was in your shoes, I absolutely would not be happy with this situation. It is not okay for a child to be so scared about being in a safe place, what should be a safe place, that she doesn't want to go and she's carrying away. And, that must have been absolutely heartbreaking for you. I can imagine that it pulled at the heartstrings. And I am not surprised at all that your inclination is to tell your daughter to punch the kid in the face, because the chances are 6, 7, 8 times out of 10, if your daughter punched him in the face, he'd never come here again. The worry is that, what does she learn? She learns that hitting someone can stop them from doing something, but the opposite can happen. So things can come back 10 times worse on top of her. And at the end of the day, we don't want to teach our kids that violence is a way to manage things, because it can get them into a lot of trouble as they grow up. So it's good that you haven't sat down with your daughter and say, just punch him in the face, even though there is that instinct to go and, there's one way to sort this out, and that'll end it. The other side of it is, I would have serious concerns about the management and staff in this creche. And the reason I say that is because if this is what they think is appropriate, they're like, doesn't matter where you are in the world. So I know in Ireland, the child protection guidelines, ultimately, no matter what the situation is, anyone working with children, their first thing is to safeguard the safety of a child, no matter what. So if you see a child being beaten up by an adult, your priority is the safety of the child, where you have to do something about it. You are legally obliged to do something about it. And not everybody does, but you are. And in this case, you have a child who's very, very scared. So what I'd say to you is, park the resilience, right? Your child is going to learn resilience skills out of this whole thing. But right now, she doesn't feel safe, and that is the most important thing. And that's my worry about the management and staff in this creche at the moment, that they are not, maybe they're not understanding the severity. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they're just brushing it off. Maybe they're scared about the parents of this child. You don't know what that situation is, but that's not your concern. Your concern is your child. So I would absolutely seek a formal meeting with them. You've had lots of meetings, but I would go and seek a formal meeting. And what I would say is, I would sit down and lay out, okay, I will decide what's okay and what's not okay for teaching my child resilience. And teaching a child to run away and scream and cower in a corner does not teach my child resilience, and it is not okay for my child. So we need to look at what can happen, or what we're going to do all together. So them and you together. What are we going to do in order to help to build your child's confidence about being in the creche, okay? So sit down with them and then see what they come up with. And if they come up with insufficient support structures for your daughter, then you have a question to ask yourself: is this the most appropriate place for my child to be in creche? Now, there could be lots of other, I suppose, elements that you need to take into account around this, because you might be sitting at the screen listening to this right now and going, well, Alan, that's all well and good, but there isn't another creche for 5 miles, or we don't have the money to actually to actually pay for another place, or the queues to get in are so long. That's the technical side of things that you need to look at and see, are they actually things that we can overcome. But ultimately, I'd sit down with your daughter as well, and I'd say to her, we're going to keep you safe, and I'm going to go and speak to them so that this child does not come near you again. Okay, that you don't need to run away, that you, if you see him coming towards you, you go and you speak to your teacher, and your teacher will do something about it. And explain that you've explained this to the school, that you've told your child that she can go to whatever teacher or assistant, whatever they are, and say, I don't feel safe because he is scaring me. And one of the salient points you put in was that about that the staff even said that your daughter was rightly so to be concerned about this child. That's not good. That's not a good situation for your child, for any child, for this child, or for the staff. That's not okay. And then if you don't get if you're not sufficiently happy with what comes in, then I would look at making an official complaint to the local authority about how the staff manage situations. Now, that takes work. That takes time out of your day. Sometimes we can go, it's easier just to take my child out, right? But I would always say that we need to remember that it's important for us to be assertive, because it teaches our children about being assertive as well. And it's okay to be assertive. It's okay that if somebody's not doing what they should be doing, or they are trying to mistreat you, or not work with you fairly, it's important that we do stand up and say, hold on, this is not okay. It's absolutely not okay for this situation to be occurring. And while I might take my child out of here, it's not okay for the next child, or the next child, or the next child. So you don't need to worry about the other child's parents as well. So what they might say is, we organise a meeting with the parents of the other child. If you don't want to do that, that's absolutely okay. It is the creche's responsibility to look after that side of things. It's not your responsibility. You should not have to go and meet with those parents if you don't want to. So put it back on them. Sorry, that's nothing to do with me. You need to manage your creche. And if there's a child who is showing bullying tendencies, you need to manage that with their parents, not me. But you need to keep my child safe when she's in your care. Then you can draft a letter to the local authority if you're not getting a satisfactory outcome, and then decide, do I take my child out, or how far do I want to go? But this is not okay. It's not teaching your child resilience. Your child will learn some resilience skills out of this. She absolutely will. But this is not directly teaching your child resilience. It is keeping a child in a fearful situation that they should not be in, and it is not okay. It is absolutely not okay. And this is where your child needs you to step up. And it's clear that you are. The fact that you've gone in, you're meeting with the staff, you're sending this question in, it shows that you're not okay with it either. So, time to put your big mama or big dada boots on and go, right, this is not okay, and we need to sort this out. And I'm not going to stand back and allow my child to be left to be scared in a situation that is uncomfortable for her. It's not okay, it's not fair, it's not right. And I would have serious concerns about the welfare of the children in this creche that your child is in. So look at what you can do, look at where you want to take this and how far you want to go with it. And I wish you luck. Do come back to me. Let me know how it goes. I hope you get a satisfactory end. If you want, you can say to them in the meeting, look, I don't want to have to take this further, but everything so far has not been satisfactory. So if this time doesn't work, and this is the last time that I will be having these conversations with you, if this time doesn't work, then things will be going further. And I don't want to do that. I want us to sort it out because my child was happy here, has her friends. It's just this one issue that is easily manageable, but they have to manage it and see how that goes. Hopefully that works for you. Okay. Last one today. We have just the 2 questions today. Right, I need a bit supper grumpy. We're looking to put our son into a creche as I'm due to go back to work in a month's time. It is completely random that the creche questions come up together. I loved spending so much time with my son, and I've built up a huge bond with him. The thoughts of going back to work are keeping me awake, as I don't really want to go back, but the biggest issue is childcare. We have no family around locally, and we're finding it extremely difficult to find somewhere that we can get him into and that doesn't cost a mortgage. Have you any suggestions as to what we might do? So you've just had this, number of months with your child, getting that bonding, which is fantastic. Like it's beautiful, and the way it should be. I see one company in Ireland has just decided to give fathers 6 months paid paternity leave, which is amazing, absolutely amazing, and kudos to them, well done. But for you, there's a few things I'd say. One, okay, can you find a creche? Because I know at the moment around here there is a lot of difficulty and a waiting list for a lot of creches. So is there a creche locally that you can get your child into? Okay. The emotional side of going back to work is huge, and for a lot of parents it can be an extremely upsetting time when you're having to leave your child having just had, it's been you and him, you've been spending probably every moment together, which has been fantastic, and then that has to change. What I'd say is don't worry so much about him if that is a concern. A lot of parents will worry about their children having separation anxiety, but at that age, he might be upset at the start, but he will get used to it, and he'll be fine in the long run. But for you, it's around managing your own emotions around this situation. Are you okay with sending him to a creche? It may not be ideal, it may not be what you really, really want to do, but you have to go back to work. The biggest question of all of anything I'm going to come up with, right, is it worth going back to work? Now, I guarantee the straight response is going to be something along the lines of, well, I can't afford not to. We need the money. So there are a couple of things. One, we can be very surprised at how much we can cut back our outgoings when we need to. So look at your outgoings. What are the things that maybe there could be a bit of wiggle room? It might take a bit of work, so it's about ringing around looking for new insurance and all that kind of stuff. But can you cut back your outgoings? Because what's really, really important here is that you feel content. And there's no point in you travelling to work every single day to earn just enough money to pay for the creche. Because how much is your time worth? How much is the travel time worth? How much is the emotional toil on you to actually go to work? And those stress levels that you will feel leaving your child with a childminder, and then the financial cost on top of that. So, is it something that you can do, that you can maybe look at working part-time even? Or where you quit work and see how it goes. It can be, it is extremely scary to make the decision to go, right, well, I'm going to leave work and I'm going to actually step away from that income in order to look after my child. But the positive benefits to you and your child will, I would suspect, outweigh the income that you have, unless you are an extremely highly paid job and you have an extremely high mortgage and an extremely high lifestyle. That is a reality as well, and that's something that you do need to take into account. But as I've said before, we have one life, and it's easier said than done, right? It's very easy for me to sit here and say we have one life. I'm not saying that you just pack everything in and go, well, let the chips fall where they may, but if it's something you really, really don't want to do, can you explore the options at least? All you're doing is exploring the options. It doesn't mean that you're 100% leaving. It may not be feasible for you, but the difference in income against the time and savings that you can make might be less than you would think. And in reality, people have lost jobs all the time. So they've been made redundant, or they've just got the sack. And they're okay. They make things work. Yes, it's tight. Yes, it's tough. But you can absolutely make it work. So maybe you can give it a try. Just the exploration, and see is it something that's possible to be done. If it's not, have a look at the creches. But going back to our very first one, and what I'd say to this new parent, the example that was given in the first question is not what all creches are like. There are 99% of creches around the place are amazing. They are fantastic, and 99% of the staff in those 99% of creches are excellent as well. So have a look around. See if you can get your child in somewhere. If you can't, by the time you're due back, can you take some unpaid leave just in the short term so that you can try and get something found? And the other side is, are there childminders? There are lots of people who are maybe stay-at-home parents who look after children and will happily take your child for whatever amount of hours a day. That's another option as well. I'm not sure the difference in cost between a creche and a personal childminder. I don't know, so you'd have to check that out. But certainly it's absolutely worth looking into. And then look at part-time work maybe closer to home. Are there jobs that you could do that will bring you some income where you're maybe paying a childminder or a creche for 2 or 3 hours as opposed to 8 or 9 hours, and then you get time at home with your child as well, and see how that goes. Do please let me know how it goes, and that's us. We've got some lovely comments here. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Thank you, Josephine. Jennifer saying, this is not teaching the child anything. I really don't like the nursery. I think they should support the child, teach him how to solve the problem properly. The children have to feel safe and protected. Absolutely. I've seen something similar where the kids were afraid of asking the teacher. I mean, you teach your kids if you don't know anything to ask, and then this happens in school, first grade. That's not okay. The child is going to grow up afraid to ask anything. There's validity in that. The other thing I'll say is that in terms of your last comment, Jennifer, that the child is going to grow up afraid to ask anything, that's not necessarily the case. So what might be the case right now, there's a natural maturation process for children where they grow up, and there's going to be a lot more influences coming in. So how they are right now does not mean they're going to be the same in years to come. So this parent can work on those skills with their child, but absolutely it shouldn't be happening. You're 100% right. I would do something because if the mother doesn't, then it's not going to change. Absolutely. And I think that's the great thing about this mum, or this parent, sorry, is that they clearly do want to do something about the situation. Guys, that's us. Check out the Motivation Podcasts. Check out all our previous Help Me to Parent podcasts. I've no idea how many questions have been answered over the 57 episodes, but we hope you've enjoyed them so far. Thank you again for everyone tuning in. The numbers go up every week of people watching, which is lovely. Please keep spreading the word. Keep spreading the word, because you never know, a friend of yours or a relation of yours may actually get something out of it, and isn't that better for everybody? Have a wonderful week. If it's raining where you are, like it is right now here, enjoy the rain as best you can, and don't have a grumpy morning. See you soon, guys. Take care.